Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. We start with the US, which has threatened to hit 52 Iranian targets very fast and very hard if Tehran attacks an American citizen or asset. President Donald Trump said the shortlisted targets include very high-level sites important to Iran. He said the targets represent 52 Americans who were held hostage in Tehran for 444 days in 1979. The president said Washington would use some of the brand new equipment on Iran without hesitation. Responding, Iran's foreign minister Javad Zarif said, having already breached international law, Trump has threatened to commit new breaches. He said targeting cultural sites constitutes a war crime. Earlier, the US-led military coalition in Iraq said 2 rockets fell near its bases on Saturday night, but it said none of its soldiers were killed or wounded in the attack. Meanwhile, Qatari Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani has called for de-escalating tensions in the Gulf region. He met Iranian President Hassan Rouhani and his Iranian counterpart Javad Zarif in Tehran.
Thani said Qatar is worried over Soleimani's killing as it was an unprecedented action. Rouhani said under current circumstances, Iran expects friendly countries to explicitly condemn this murder by the US. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said China will play a constructive role in maintaining peace and security in the Middle East. In a phone call with Zarif, he said US military's actions violated the basic norms of international relations and would aggravate regional tensions. Meanwhile, Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas has called for direct talks with Iran to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East. EU's High Representative Joseph Borrell also urged all sides to exercise self-restraint and to work towards de-escalation. Oman, meanwhile, has also urged the US and Iran to utilize diplomatic channels to resolve issues.
In a related development, Iraqi Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi has discussed the situation in Iraq and the region with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Mahdi's office says the two leaders discussed ways of mitigating the effects of recent events to avoid total escalation. Earlier, Saudi Arabia's King Salman spoke with Iraqi President Barham Saleh and stressed on the importance of diffusing the crisis. Saudi state media said King Salman told Saleh that Riyadh wants security and stability in Iraq. Meanwhile, NATO has suspended its operation in Iraq to train Iraqi army personnel amid growing instability in the country after the US airstrikes. Pakistan's military's spokesperson, Major General Asif Ghafoor, has said the country will not become part of any action that aims to disrupt peace in the region. In an interview, Ghafoor said Prime Minister Imran Khan has already assured that Pakistan won't allow its soil to be used against any other country. The Director General ISPR said Pakistan is partner of peace and peace alone. He said Pakistan wants peace in the region but will not compromise on the sovereignty of the country. He said Pakistan always stressed the need to resolve issues through dialogue. Ghafoor said Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa played an important role to end conflicts in the region. Moreover, Washington's killing of Iranian commander Major General Qasem Soleimani has received mixed reactions from all over the world. People in the United States took to the streets against the raid and their president. What about the anger in this report?
More than 70 protesters were organized across the country by a US-based anti-war coalition. The protest organizers said the Trump administration has essentially started a war with Iran by assassinating Soleimani. From Tampa to Philadelphia and San Francisco to New York, protesters carried signs and chanted anti-war slogans. In Washington, D.C., dozens of people protested against the airstrike and U.S. troop deployments to the Middle East. Armed with a variety of chants and signs, the demonstrators began their day outside the White House. Actor and activist Jane Fonda joined the crowd, bringing her message of climate change awareness to the protest.
Please understand, the Pentagon is the biggest institutional user of fossil fuel in the world. That we can't anymore lose lives and kill people and ruin an environment because of oil and fossil fuels.
No matter what it takes.
The group marched from the White House and along Pennsylvania Avenue to the Trump International Hotel. Also in Los Angeles, people gathered to protest against war, holding up posters that read "No War on Iran."
In the Iranian city of Ahvaz, a funeral procession of slain commander Qasem Soleimani has begun hours after his remains arrived from Iraq. Thousands of mourners gathered in the southwestern city while holding portraits of Soleimani. The funeral ceremony was held in Baghdad, Karbala and Najaf on Saturday. The next destination of the funeral will be Mashhad. The bodies of Soleimani and acting head of Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis will then be transferred to Tehran, Qom and Kerman. Soleimani and al-Muhandis were separately leaving Baghdad airport in two cars when they were assassinated. Moreover, Britain says it will escort UK flagged ships through the Strait of Hormuz after the US killed Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani. In a statement, Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said he ordered two naval vessels to prepare for escort duties. Wallace said he spoke to US Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, who urged all the parties to work towards de-escalation. He alleged that during the last few months, US forces in Iraq have been repeatedly attacked by Iran-backed forces. Wallace said under international law, Washington is entitled to defend itself against any threat to its citizens. Last year, British naval vessels escorted ships through the busy route after Iran seized a British flag tanker. A group claiming to be hackers from Iran has breached the website of a US government agency. They posted messages vowing to avenge the assassination of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani. The website of the Federal Depository Library Program was replaced with a page titled Iranian Hackers. The hacked website displayed images of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and Iranian flag. Another graphic depicted US President Donald Trump being punched by a fist emanating from Iran as missiles fly by. The graphic narrated Iran's supreme leader Khamenei's statements after Soleimani's killing. China has issued a safety warning to its citizens living in the US amid increased security risks. This comes after the assassination of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani by the US. In a statement, Beijing's embassy in Washington advised citizens to stay alert and take safety precautions. It said they should closely be cautious before going to public places. Anyone who fears or encounters a possible threat has been advised to contact the embassy or their local consulate. Moving on to Saudi Arabia, which has condemned the Turkish parliament's decision to deploy troops to Libya. In a statement, the foreign ministry said it is in violation of UN Security Council resolutions and undermines efforts to resolve the Libyan crisis. It said Turkish escalation constitutes a threat to regional security and interferes in the internal affairs of an Arab country. Earlier, Libya's eastern-based parliament voted unanimously against deals on security and maritime cooperation the Tripoli-based government signed with Ankara. The parliament also voted to cut relations with Turkey and referred the head of the GNA, Fayez al-Sarraj, for prosecution on a charge of high treason. In Libya, 30 people have been killed in an airstrike on a military school in southern Tripoli by Khalifa Haftar's forces. Libya's UN-recognized government says 33 others were wounded in the raid and the death toll may rise. It confirmed that all 28 killed in the attack were army cadets. In a statement, Haftar's eastern forces said the attack was part of its operation to capture Tripoli. Earlier, Khalifa Haftar called for mobilization of forces and fight against what he described as the Turkish occupation of Libya. The UN says more than 1,000 people have been killed and at least 5,000 injured since the start of the operation. In Burkina Faso, 14 people, including several children, have died after a roadside bomb blew up their bus in northwestern Soru province. Security officials say the vehicle was carrying students back to their schools after the New Year break. Security officials say it is unclear who is behind the attack. Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab fighters stormed a military base in Kenya's Lamu County, used by both the US and Kenyan military. Kenyan Defense Forces said an attempt to breach security at Mandara airstrip has been successfully repulsed. Kenyan military spokesman Colonel Paul Nigwana said 4 terrorists have been killed. He said the airstrip is safe. However, Al-Shabaab claimed it has destroyed 7 aircraft and 3 military vehicles. In a statement, the group said it has killed several American and Kenyan troops. As Kashmiris around the world are observing the 71st anniversary of a UN resolution on a plebiscite in the occupied valley, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the UN should fulfill its promise of granting the right to self-determination to the people of occupied Kashmir. Khan said the 5th of January reminds the world, especially the UN, to honor its commitment to the Kashmiris. He said the Security Council has failed to fulfill its pledge to the Kashmiri people. Khan went on to say New Delhi has turned the region into a prison by keeping 900,000 troops. He said Kashmiris have been deprived of basic human rights for over 150 days. Imran Khan said the world must ensure that perpetrators of human rights abuses must be held accountable. The Prime Minister reaffirmed Pakistan's political and diplomatic support to the Kashmiris in their freedom struggle. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi reaffirmed Pakistan's political, diplomatic and moral support to the valiant Kashmiris in their just struggle. In the latest string of Islamophobic attacks, a mosque in Czech Republic city of Brno has been vandalized with graffiti threatening to kill Muslims. Police said they are investigating the incident. They said the perpetrator will face up to 1 year in prison if convicted. Local Muslims said they are taking the incident as serious and a direct threat. Croatians are voting to elect a new president today in the second and the final round of polling. It comes just days after the country took over the presidency of the European Union. In the first round of voting 2 weeks ago, former Prime Minister Zoran Milanovic led the race by 30%. Milanovic finished ahead of incumbent Conservative President Kolinda Kitarovic. Exit polls suggest the race for the next 5-year presidential term could be tight, with Kitarovic marginally ahead. Incumbent President Kitarovic, the country's first female president, is running for a second term. Welcome back. In Spain, socialist leader Pedro Sanchez has failed in a first attempt to get Parliament's backing to form a government. Now he has 2 days to secure Parliament's support to end an 8-month political gridlock. Sanchez needed 176 votes for an absolute majority in the 350-seat assembly to be confirmed as the country's prime minister. But he got 166 votes. He will face Parliament again on Tuesday to win a simple majority to become the prime minister. He is likely to get that after securing a deal from 13 lawmakers of Catalonia's largest separatist party to abstain from voting. In Cambodia, the death toll in the collapse of an under-construction building has risen to 36. Governor Ken Satha said the 7-story building collapsed in the coastal town of Kep, leaving 23 others injured. He said 3 bodies have not been pulled out yet. Satha said authorities have detained the building owners for questioning. Six German tourists have been killed and 11 others injured when a speeding car ploughed into them in northern Italy. Police said the victims were near their bus when a car slammed into them in the South Tyrol region that borders Austria. The driver of the car was arrested and taken to hospital under police guard. The region is popular with tourists who use the ski slopes of Klossberg and Spitzbergen. Strong winds in southeast Australia are hampering efforts by the firefighters to contain the raging bushfires. Officials say weather systems with powerful gusts threaten to further spread the blaze in New South Wales. Officials say military helicopters have been deployed to evacuate people trapped by flames in the state of Victoria. 4 people are still missing in the state. New South Wales Fire Commissioner Shane Fitzsimon said hundreds of homes may have been razed. 146 fires are still burning across the state and about 65 have not been contained. At least 23 people have been killed across the country since September. Over 1,200 homes have been destroyed and millions of hectares of land scorched. In Japan, a bluefin tuna has sold for $1.8 million in an auction at Tokyo's Toyosu fish market. This is the second highest price on record. Japan's state media says the tuna was caught off the northern Omori prefecture and weighed 276 kilograms. The successful bidder was Kayoshi Kimura, who runs a chain of sushi restaurants called Sushi Zanmai. Last year, Kimura paid a record of $3 million for the tuna at the auction, exceeding his previous record in 2013. Now, the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.
Natalie Powell, Indus News, London.